Welcome to another episode of TaskHuman Talks. I'm your host and wellness provider, Jamie Carroll. And today we have Alyse Archer. And Alyse is one of our amazing financial counselors on the app. Welcome, Alyse. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, thank you for having me today.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about how you will be helping people on this TaskHuman app with their finances.
So, when you talk about financial health or financial wellness, it really is just learning how to be successful, responsible, and independent with managing your finances. So what does that look like?
Yeah.
So, talk about tracking your spending. So, ideally, you would want to look back at the past 60, but 30 days would suffice of your credit card statement or your debit card or however you typically pay. And then that way you can kind of track your patterns and habits and see how you spend money and where you spend money. We're kind of in these strange times right now where there's not too much extraneous money being spent on going out to eat and entertainment or vacations, but you can kind of get a better idea of your habits and patterns and where it goes. So, for example, are you somebody that goes to Starbucks every morning for coffee? Or do you do takeout, during your lunch break or take out for dinner several times a week? People, I hear all the time from clients like it's only $5 a day. And then when you multiply that by 7 days a week times 4 weeks, that could be another bill. And, people's eyes open like, oh, I didn't realize that I spend that much on that.
Yeah.
So it's just something to keep in mind and consider. And again, I'm not saying do away with any of that stuff. If there's something you enjoy, maybe change the pattern or the habit just a little bit or reduce it or something like that. But it's a good idea to track where it goes.
Absolutely. Actually, Alyse, let me ask you this too. So are people coming to you who are like, I just need to like figure out where my finances are going. I feel like
Yes.
I'm out of control and I just don't know what's happening anymore. And so then you're really helping them with this. It starts with tracking spending, it sounds like,
Yes.
creating,
So
seeing where it's all going.
yes. So that would be the first step in the process is to track where it's going. Then from there, you want to create your budget. How much money do you take in each month after taxes? And then how much are your total bills? So your bills would be your fixed bills that you have each month, like your mortgage or your rent payment, or your car payment, or your cable bill, or your cell phone bill. And then variables would be things like childcare or gas or groceries, things that you still pay each month, but it varies a little bit from month to month what that expense is. So
Right.
once you have those in mind, then you can move on from there and talk about expense reduction. What are ways that you can save or do away with some of your expenses? And the financial
What is
counselor
an
will help
easy
you
way
navigate
that we
that.
can, yeah, do you have like tips? I'm curious about that. What are some easy ways, like off the top of your head, that we can, like, what are some things that we're spending that we don't really need or that we could get rid of? And I guess it varies, but
It does. So for expense reduction, write down all of your expenses and things like cable bills and cell phone bills. If you call your provider and ask them what special or promotion they're currently running, more often than not, they will reduce your bill with you for a special, promotional offer. Especially if you're a current customer and you're in good standing with them, if you've been with them for a while, if you're up to date with all of your payments, they're going to want you to stay and they're going to want to make you happy. So they will give you this, offer. But really what it's doing is lowering your bills. And pretty much any bill is negotiable. So for example, even your trash bill, you can negotiate. Um,
really,
which is exactly what I did a few months ago. I
oh
called
my
in.
God.
You wouldn't think it, but it's so true. So I lowered my trash bill by $20 a quarter. The only two that I've never had success with is my water bill and my sewer bill. Unfortunately, there's
Okay.
nothing you can do about those.
Okay.
But pretty much any other bill is negotiable. I know it can be tedious and I know it can be time consuming, but make a list of all your expenses and just go line by line and make those phone calls. I always say it never hurts to ask. And there was
Right.
only 2 times that I was rejected with those two bills. But other than that, I've been able to lower them. And even for something like your car payment, if your credit score is typically a certain number or above, you can refinance your vehicle with the same company at a lower interest rate.
Really?
Yes, because I did that as well. So, it lowered it by
Wow.
a significant amount of money each month. You don't realize how much you're paying in interest. So there's definitely savings to be had there.
Absolutely. And just to speak to that as well, I was going to Mexico a few weeks ago, and so I called my cell phone company, and I needed to get that added on so I could use my phone in Mexico. And I didn't have it before. And to get Mexico added on, it was actually my monthly plan is cheaper now than what it was before. And I was noticing, I was like, why am I paying so much? And I noticed all these other plans very similar to mine. Like maybe there was one thing I wasn't even using that I got rid of, but I was like, wow, okay, I'm actually saving money now.
I know, which you don't think about it. And they're never going to call you and say, hey, guess
No,
what? I want to offer you a special rate. But if you ask, you're very rarely declined. So I always say it never hurts to ask. And you'd be surprised at how many businesses and companies are definitely willing to work with you.
that is great. Great tips. Thank you. You mentioned
Sure.
credit score too. Do
Yes.
you work with people in raising and helping them work through like a low credit score to raise it up as
Yes.
well? Okay, awesome.
So when you talk about credit score or your credit report, that's not a one size fits all. So if you go to annualcreditreport.com, you can get a free copy of your credit report, which I advise everybody to do. And especially now during these times, they'll let you have a weekly credit report. So it's
Cool.
important to take a look and make sure that there is nothing that's fraudulent on your credit report. And
Mm,
everybody's situation is a little bit different. So I don't want to give out specific tips because depending on how long something has been in collections, you don't
right.
want to do something to hinder the statute of limitations if you need to write a dispute letter or you need to do something further. So as far as
Okay.
specific tips to raise your credit score, it really varies case to case. And that's a
Okay.
very specific thing that would just be specific to the person. But there's definitely ways that you can raise your credit score and be in good standing with things that are even in collections and raise your credit score as well. So there's definitely important tips to be had with that. You just need to make sure
Okay.
that you order a copy and take a look at it. And then all of the financial counselors at TaskHuman will be able to walk you through that process.
That's great. Now, let me ask you this. I've always heard that when we go and check our credit score, and I don't know if this is true for annualcreditreport.com, does that lower our score when we're looking it up?
So the short answer is yes, but only 5 to 10 points.
Okay.
So if your credit score was on the lower end to begin with, this isn't going to be a catastrophic situation where now it's lowered by 100 points.
Right.
So a soft pull won't change your situation. If you do a
Okay.
hard pull for something like a mortgage, it will bring it down a few points. But what we always tell people is if your credit was good before, this isn't going to change it. If you didn't have great credit before, this is not going to make it bad either. So
Okay.
yes, it will change it by a few points, but nothing catastrophic like people hear or think about sometimes.
Okay.
Yes,
Awesome.
that seems to be the myth going around, and nobody wants
It
their
does.
credit
Yeah.
because they're scared that it's going to lower it like 100
I
points.
know. Yes, that's how I've always been. I'm like, I don't know if I should do that though.
Yes, and it is not good to pull it too often, so I don't recommend doing that.
Okay.
But like I said, it's not going to change your situation too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. Now we mentioned or you mentioned like the times that we're in right now as well. So we've got COVID going on. It looks like it's going to be around for a while. People have lost jobs, lost income, things like that going on. How can or should we even be budgeting during these times for people out there that have lost a job or their income has decreased a little bit?
So, with a budget, people think, oh, I do my budget and then I'm good to go. And a budget isn't this set in stone document where you do it once and then you don't have to worry about it again. So a budget changes and evolves when your situation changes and evolves. And your budget is supposed to reflect the current situation that you're in. So if you have decreased income right now, then you need to plan for that with your budget. And along with decreased income really comes with decreasing expenses. And
Yeah.
we talked about some of those ways to do it a little while ago. Another way to do it is to take a look at your monthly subscriptions or memberships.
Mhm.
For example, like gym memberships. Is it something that you're not currently using, but you want to go back to in the future? Well, then call and freeze your account for a little while so you're still not paying that monthly fee. If you don't have intentions of going back to the gym anytime soon, then cancel that membership. You do want to ask if you sign a contract and if there is a fee to get out of it. But if there isn't, a lot of times they will just let you cancel it, especially now during COVID. And then in the future, if the time comes that you want to return, you can. And that actually happened to me a few months ago. I was paying $25 a month for my membership, and I froze my account back when COVID first happened. And I didn't realize that come July, they started charging me again. So I called and I asked for a credit to my account. I said, I'm really sorry. I was unaware. I haven't been using this. Can you please credit my account? And I actually did. I got my $50 back.
Nice.
So, you know, it never hurts to make that phone call and to ask. The worst they can say is no, but especially now, most people are going to be really willing to work with you. And they're also going to give you a refund because they know if the time comes in the future that you're comfortable coming back, you will. So they want to keep that customer service relationship open. And people just want to be helpful during this time and look out for one another.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you mentioned the monthly subscriptions because it's so easy to just, like you were saying before, with, oh, it's only $3 or it's only $7.99, $8.99. Those add up real quick, and maybe you can live without something for a little
Exactly.
while. And yeah,
And, you know, I think it's one of those things that people don't realize. They sign up for, you know, a free Netflix account, and then a month later they're being charged, and then they sign up for Hulu and they forget to cancel the membership or the subscription because life gets busy and things happen.
exactly.
And then before you know it, you're still paying on all of these things. And maybe you can even call and say, listen, during this time, are you running any specials or promotions? Can you please reduce my monthly subscription rate? And I've had a lot of businesses say yes to that as well, where it's normally like $18 a month and you could pay $8 or $10 a month.
Right,
So,
absolutely.
you know, it's always really important to ask.
Absolutely, yeah.
And another thing that you can do too is a lot of times people have unused items sitting around their house, whether it's in the garage or the basement, and it's not something that you really realize. You just know that it's there, it's in good condition, and you don't use it. And there's a lot of websites where you can sell these items. And again, people are like, well, what am I going to get, $10 or $20 for it? But I'll tell you what, if you sell a few of them, that could be extra income. And I always call that bonus income that you weren't intending on having. And it's just there for you. If you don't need it for the current month for a part of your bills and expenses, then put it away and save it for a later time. You never know when the time comes that you'll need it.
Yes, absolutely. I was just talking to a friend about this last night, and he sells things online, and he's always like looking for things to sell to make a little extra income. And it's interesting because when you have these times, and probably when we are working with a financial counselor like you on the TaskHuman app, you can really help us get creative in those ways and ways
Yes.
that we've never thought about before.
Exactly. You know, another thing that I like to be mindful of, and I personally am very guilty of this, is when you're talking and trying to decipher and differentiate between needs versus wants. So in the grocery store, for example, how often do you walk in with a list of 6 things that you need, right? You truly need those.
Right.
But yet you come out with 15 things because those new cookies on the end cap spoke to you.
Yeah.
And those new chips that you had to have, you know, and
Yeah.
so I'm not saying do away with all of those things, but I'm saying be mindful of it. Maybe you don't need to put all of those extra items in your cart or all 12 of them in your cart. Maybe you could pick 1 or 2, or even at Target and Walmart. That gets me every time.
Oh my gosh, Target is the worst.
It's terrible. And again, you go in with your list for paper towels and laundry detergent and you spend $100. And so, you know, there's certain things like holiday creamer for your coffee that I do consider a need and I won't do away with. But I think just being more mindful of it, you know, and bringing it to the forefront of your minds, like, oh, I can do without some of this, or maybe next time I'll save this, you know, for my next trip to the store. So I think that's something important to keep in mind too. And, you know, studies show that when you walk into the grocery store with a credit card or debit card, or any store for that matter, where you're buying consumables, you spend 12 to 18% more money. So I always advise clients, if you are trying to cut back and you're on a more strict budget, bring cash. because there is nothing worse than getting to the register and not having enough money and having 6 people behind you staring at you in line. So if
Yes.
you know that that's a problem for you, bring cash and make sure that you have enough for the items that you do need. So obviously you're not going to be embarrassed at the register, but don't bring
Right.
extra money because you're just going to buy extra things. And if you don't need them, don't put yourself in that situation.
That's so great. Infusing mindfulness. And I love that, in the beginning, you called it financial health and wellness. And that's just, it's like you're infusing the mindfulness, your wants versus your needs into financial planning. It really is health and wellness, right?
It is, because money in and of itself is just a thing, right? So
Yeah.
it's the behaviors and people's attitudes and beliefs that drive how you spend and where you spend money.
Right. Absolutely. Wonderful. Are there any financial resources out there that we should know about right now, considering with these things going on?
So my recommendation, since resources vary so much from state to state, I think it's really important to go online and to look at your local city and state government websites.
Okay.
Once you go online and you get to that website, they have a lot of links for local organizations
Okay.
and local relief. So it could be if you live in a state where the weather is starting to get cooler and you need winter clothes for yourself or your children, there's links of places that you can go to have those supplies at a really reduced rate or for free, through people's generous
Yeah.
donations.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
if you even just Google is a great resource. Any resource that you need, if you just type in, for example, school supplies near me,
Yeah.
you'll be able to find local resources where you can get donated school supplies for your children. Or
Okay.
if you go on to feedingamerica.com and you type in your zip code, they will give you a list of local chapters that you can go to where you can get a bag of non-perishable items for yourself and your family. If
Wonderful.
you find out where local soup kitchens and food pantries are, you and your family are entitled to walk into a meal for free. And there's no criteria that you have to meet, and you can sit down. And a lot of times too, they'll give you an emergency bag of non-perishables to take away with you. And lots of times
Love
churches
that.
in the area will offer
Yeah.
emergent housing care or other resources that they'll make known that they're offering. So I think it's important, whatever area you're in, to Google that specific area to find out, because there's
Okay.
not this blanket website that you can go to that will break
Right.
down state by state.
Okay. Awesome. That's great. Thank you. And
Sure.
now let's kind of shift from terrible things going on in the world and COVID, right? We're all sick of that. Let's talk about the holidays. For the holidays or any big event that may be coming up, a birthday, an anniversary, what are some tips and strategies on ways to save money on gifts?
So I think anytime you're talking about an occasion like the holiday season, it's
Yeah.
important to make a list of everybody that you want to buy for.
Okay.
So that goes back to planning ahead. Anytime that you can be proactive and plan ahead, that's really important to do. And then you want to also resort back to your mainstream budget and see how much money you can allocate to put towards the holiday season. And I think this is where some people get really nervous, because there is no right or wrong amount of money to spend. And it's really what you can give and what you're comfortable spending. And so that comes from your budget and your situation. And
Yeah.
so from there, once you have that overall amount, break it down even further and allocate a specific monetary value per person. And
Okay.
if you're using a credit card, you really want to make sure that you stick to that amount. Cash or
Okay.
debit card would be ideal because when you purchase, it's gone. But if you're using a
Right.
credit card, it's only a few dollars over for this person. And it's only a few
Right.
dollars over for this person. And then before you know it, you get this bill in the mail. And that's not what you had planned for. And that's not what you were anticipating. So it's
Right.
really important to make sure that you stick to that. And I also like to tell people, while we're talking about that, you never want to put your gifts on a credit card and worry about it after the holiday season, or rely on a tax refund to pay it off afterwards, because your situation can change, your
Yeah.
employment status can change. You might think that you're getting a certain amount of money back because that's what you did last year. And if you're not, now you're in this situation where you need to pay off this debt because you don't have the money like you thought you did. So pay cash and use your credit card and plan ahead and be proactive with it.
Okay.
I also think, especially now, there's so many coupons that come in the mail and
Mm-hmm.
that come through your phone. So I like to put all of my coupons in an envelope and I leave them in the glove box of my car. And I take a picture of my list on my phone because everybody has their phone with them all the time. And like there was
Yes.
a specific time last year, I was passing by the drugstore on my way home just because I needed to stop in for something completely unrelated. And I saw that there was boxes of chocolate and it was buy one, get one free. So they were normally $10 boxes of chocolate. I got 2 of them for $10 and I had a 30% off coupon. I had my coupon in my glove box and I had my list on my phone. And so I was prepared. I bought these 2 presents and then I could check 2 neighbors off my list for gifts that I wanted to buy. So I think if you're
That's
prepared for
great.
those, you never know when you're going to run into a store and you're going to see something for someone.
Right.
Or if you have your things available with you all the time, then you can take care of it. So I think it's important to make sure that you carry that stuff around with you because you never know when you're going to run in somewhere and see something for someone.
Absolutely. And I love that you mentioned using coupons because I've always wanted to do that, but I'm like, I don't do it. What's so for people that are like me out there, right? How do we start do it? Like, where are you finding these coupons? Is it magazines and newspapers still? Like, how can we
So
do this?
So, it's funny, if you go online, no matter what store you want to go in, more often than not, you will find a coupon on your phone. So if you type
Okay.
in-store coupons for, it could be Kohl's, it could be AC Moore, it could be JC Penney's, it could be Macy's. There's so many coupons that will pop up on your phone. And I always take like a screenshot of it. So that way I have the scannable barcode if it doesn't come
Okay.
to you in the mail. And then anytime I walk into the store, I use it. Another thing I do, which really embarrasses my kids, but I don't care, is I go up to the register and I just say, do you have a coupon behind the register that I can use? And a
Ah,
lot of times they say yes. Now, they're not going to say to you, wow, thank you so much for coming in our store. We're going to give you a coupon. But if you ask, they'll look at you for a second and then they'll kind of like reluctantly smile and get it out and hand it to you. And I'm always like, oh, thank you so much. But
yeah.
again, it never hurts to ask. And many times I've had somebody that does it. But again,
Right.
you need to make sure that you ask. So I would say in mail and through your phone and at the register.
Okay. Awesome. Is there any like different budgeting tips or anything you have for like saving ahead for gifts, or is it pretty much just the same? You're looking at, well, I guess you said it. We're making a list. We're getting that budget.
So what I typically do, so right after the holiday season, when you tell people to start planning ahead and being proactive for the following year, they look at
Yeah.
you like you have 10 heads. Like, are you kidding me? I
Right.
just got done the holiday season. I don't want to do that.
Okay.
And I always tell my clients the holiday season isn't a surprise. You know when it's coming. It's at the
Right.
same time every year. So what I
Yeah.
suggest to my clients is kind of do the whole piggyback of Christmas in July. So
Okay.
that's midway through the year. It gives you 6 months. And then that way you can start planning ahead. Now, typically from year to year, on average, you have the same people that you buy for, and you
Right.
have around the same budget that you spend. So if you know that you spend X number of dollars at the holiday season, divide that by 6 months. And then you could either do
Okay.
it per pay period from July until December, or you could do it once a month, depending on how you budget and what your situation is. And then put that money away each month. I save mine in an envelope. I take out cash from my account so I know that I don't spend it. And
That's
then I put
great.
that in an envelope and I hide it in my drawer where nobody knows that it is. And then come the holiday season, I have this cash. So when I go in store, I don't ever have to worry about using my debit card or worry about going over, because if I'm spending this much for this person, that's what I bring in with me. And again, if you have a coupon too, you have an added savings. And then that could be an additional present for somebody else, because you always have those pop-up gifts that happen too.
Yes. Absolutely. Oh, that's great. I love that. Christmas in
Yeah.
July, starting 6 months early.
Yeah, so it's Christmas in July.
Right.
That's kind of like the kickoff.
Yes.
And another thing too is I always go to the dollar store for all of my wrapping paper and for all of my gift
Mm.
bags and for all of my bows. And I always cringe when I go into a specialty store and I see wrapping paper at like $7 or $8 a roll, because guess
Yeah.
what? In 3 seconds, that wrapping paper is coming off and it's ending up in a trash bag.
I
And so at the dollar store, it's great. You can get all of your supplies and all of the things that you need to either wrap your presents or decorate your presents. And it's so much cheaper than going into other stores and buying those supplies, especially when it's not something that people are going to keep. They're just going to throw it away anyway.
Yes, absolutely. Ooh, I love this. This is so great. Thank you so much, Alyse, for this information.
Sure.
Wow. Is there anything else before we sort of wrap up here that you want to share about your financial counseling?
Yes. I think everybody's on their own financial journey, right? So
Yeah.
whether you're a beginner in the process or you're more advanced in the process, everybody has areas that they can always continue to improve on. And so I think the amazing thing about TaskHuman and adding this new financial wellness platform is that it doesn't matter where you are in your journey. You have the opportunity to talk with somebody in a safe space, one on one, that can help you navigate this process and that can help you work through whatever questions or struggles or challenges you have. And it is a process, it's not this
Yeah.
one time thing. And so you have somebody that is there with you every step of the way. And I think that's so important. And especially now
Love that.
during these times, even to give you tips and
Yeah,
suggestions, or, if you are in a good spot right now, but you do want to save a little bit more money, there's all
absolutely.
different aspects that you can work on. And so I think there's always something to learn about it.
Absolutely. And it's financial health and wellness. And just like we go to the doctor, a year, every couple years, like why not check in as well with our financial well-being? Just make sure we're on track. Talk to an advisor or counselor about it and just,
Exactly.
yeah, make sure we're on track, make sure our finances are healthy, like just like we would do for any other area in our life. So yeah,
Exactly. And people tend to overlook that, and they
yeah,
have
yeah.
more of like a stressed connotation or
Absolutely.
embarrassment or shame, when really it can be something that you look forward to doing. And it's like a stress relief when
Yeah.
you're able to like navigate your situation and feel comfortable in your situation.
Yes, and that's what you're there for, to help them with that stress that, because it can be overwhelming too, right? Sometimes it's like, well, oh, where do I even begin? Some people might have 3 or 4 credit cards, right? And it's just, it seems all over the place and it seems unmanageable. But
Yes.
by working with you, you're there to really guide them and help them on that journey. So it doesn't seem so much so.
Yes,
Yeah.
and to your point, a lot of people don't know where to start. And so it seems so anxiety provoking that they just
Yeah.
push it off and they don't want to deal with it. And really, you could just be getting yourself into a deeper, more challenging situation. So, to
Yeah.
have somebody there to help you get out of it and to realize that they're there to help you navigate that process and make your
Absolutely.
situation better, is something that I think is incredible. So I'm really excited
Absolutely.
about this new platform.
Yay, this is so amazing. So make sure you find Alyse Archer on our app. She is amazing. As you guys can tell, she's here to help you with just your financial health and wellness. If you need help with a credit score, if you need help budgeting for an event, a holiday, anything regarding your finances, she is here to help you. So make sure you search her on our app. Alyse, is there anything else?
No, that was it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. And we'll talk soon, and I will see you guys next time.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for having me.